Ron starts us off in Houston, Texas this hour. Hey, Ron, welcome to the Dave Ramsey Show.
Hi, Dave. Thanks for taking my call.
Sure, man. What's up?
Well, I have a question. Me and my wife we're on baby step 6, and we've got a high risk investment that's worth about $25,000 right now, and we're getting it to the point where it's uncomfortable, where we want to sell the investment and cash it out. And I would like to spend about half of it on a vehicle that I've always wanted. And she's uneasy about that, just spending that amount of money on something that's, completely a luxury and not necessary. So I was going to see if you could weigh in and let us know what your opinion is on it.
Well, I'm an expert on my opinion. Christy can weigh in also. That's fun. The thing that I have found is if it falls under the heading of wisdom, it generally is a small ratio. Toys that are a large ratio in your life, meaning they're a high percentage of your income or they're a high percentage of your net worth, is a toy you shouldn't do. But one of the reasons we work is to buy some toys, and there's nothing evil about having a toy. And that's what this is. That's what you're describing. And you're talking about spending $12,000 or $13,000, right?
Correct.
Okay. And what's your household income?
We made $80,000 last year.
Okay. And what are your other cars worth?
My car, I've got an old pickup truck and my wife's car. They're worth about $20,000 combined.
Okay. Well, one of the rules of thumb we use is you're debt-free, everything but your house, and we want you to be there. The other rule of thumb we use is don't buy things with motors or wheels, all combined, that equal more than half your annual income, right? And so
Sure.
You're not doing that. It hasn't violated that. You'd be at 32 and you make 80, so you'd still be fine. What are you talking about buying? Just curious.
A BMW Z4 Coupe.
Okay. All right, cool. So a little midlife crisis car. That's fun. I like it. I've got one of those. I don't have that car, but I got a couple of midlife crisis cars. I live in a perpetual midlife crisis, so, when it comes to cars, that is. So, how much do you guys have in your 401k?
I'm 33 years old, and I've got just over 100,000.
Okay. All right.
Ron, are you the spender?
I am the spender. One of the reasons that we're in the position we're in is because my wife is so frugal and she has a hard time spending money on anything. I have to buy her things most of the time because she won't spend it on herself.
Yeah, I would guess that just because like we teach all the time, a lot of times in marriage, there's a saver and a spender. My husband is the saver. I am the spender. So the conversation sounds a lot in our household like the conversation you're having, regardless of what it is and the situation we're in. But here's a couple questions I ask him whenever he is unsure about a purchase, because I will tell you he is usually unsure about a purchase. he gives me the classic line that drives me crazy. Let me think about it.
Matt's a tightwad.
Oh, a week later, let me think about it.
He's a tightwad.
6 months later, I'm still thinking about it. I'm like, oh my goodness. Here's some questions. I just ask him, Ron, what are you worried about? What fears do you have around this? What are your concerns? And I give him an opportunity to voice those concerns. And sometimes they are things we can address and talk through together. Sometimes they're really valid and maybe a blind spot I didn't see because I'm such a spender and I'm like, oh, it's a great idea. So that's what's so great about having these conversations in your marriage, because you come to the best decision together. But I would just say, give her an opportunity to voice those concerns, to talk through those concerns, to actually nail them down. It can't just be, I don't know, I'm just scared. Let's what are you worried about? What are your concerns? What would help you feel better about this decision and that type of thing? And so I think maybe asking some of those questions, giving her a chance to answer, will allow her to feel more of a part of the decision either way, and then you're kind of moving forward together. But I just want to encourage you, if you open that door, you might be surprised at what she has to say, and it might lead to y'all coming together on this.
Yeah, that's a good point, because it might just let the steam off, might let the air out of the problem. But so by ratios, what I'm referring to, Ron, and for the sake of all our listeners as well, I kind of ask myself when I'm dealing with someone who's wealthy or someone who's doing well financially, you all are doing well financially, if I put that amount of money in your situation in the middle of the floor and I burned it, would it destroy my life? Would it mess up my life? Would it set me back 5 years? Would it set me back a year? would it do damage to where, I mean, obviously we don't want to be that wasteful. That's silly, okay? But the point is, if the car caught on fire the next day and burned to the ground and you had no insurance, would you have ruined your finances and your future, or seriously set them back, or would you just not notice? You know, like I had a guy call me up one time that was making $600,000 a year, and he was all worried about buying a $20,000 Harley. And I'm like, dude, you could drive it off a cliff once a month and nobody would care. I mean, you know, you're going to be okay. It's not going to affect because of the ratio to his income. You see what I'm saying? So that's what, you know, and this is a big enough ratio that you would feel it, but it wouldn't mess your life up. And so that tells me it's a buy. If I'm in your shoes, I'm buying the car.
Okay, so I got a question for you, Dave, on this, because in marriage, you do typically have a saver, have a spender. One of the things I've noticed, and I would say Matt's not like this. Matt is cautious, but he will spend money on things that, you know, that he likes. What about those type of people? And I don't know that Ron's wife is like this, but what about those people that genuinely don't like spending money? They just don't. And so you've got this spouse that's going, but we have the money, but it's okay. We've got this thing. And they hate spending money. And so it's really hard for them to ever say yes to a decision because they hate letting go of it. How do you help them, those savers, open their hands a little bit?
You know, Rachel and I were talking about this a little bit yesterday on the air with the launch of her Know Yourself, Know Your Money book, because she talks about the spender versus a saver, and she talks about the 7 tendencies, and that's one of the 7 tendencies. Are you a saver or you a spender? And the thing that she so wisely points out is neither one of those are bad. It's not bad to be a saver.
You
it's
need
not
a little
bad to be
both,
a spender.
yeah.
But what is unhealthy is if either one go to the extreme. Mm-hmm. And what you're talking about is a saver that has gone to the extreme. They cannot get joy from the handling of money in their finances. They can never get enough to get a sense of joy in purchasing something. And usually what I prescribe for them is increased generosity. When you start giving more, it causes you to have more of a sense of abundance, more of a sense
Hold
of,
it with open hands.
I don't have to have this for my security. I'm not damaging or ruining my life by helping this person with this $1,000 gift or whatever it is. And when you start giving more, especially hand to, not to vague organizations, big buildings, but to just say, this individual, I'm going to help this single mom pay her light bill for a year or something like that, then that causes you to become a little bit less freaked out. And you can move towards enjoyment of money yourself. Because it also kind of gives you permission to enjoy money. Right. Because you're helping others.
Yeah.
So, but you don't want to be too far on either end of the spectrum. It is toxic when you do that.